Hey guys, this is Ed from Mission Impossible. Welcome back to my Atari assembly programming tutorial series. This is episode 13. Last episode, we set up a new way of displaying the screen. This episode, we're going to be doing player movement and collision detection. Let's get into it. Okay, next up, we're going to be handling player movement. So we're going to be doing things a little differently than the way we did it before. But we actually are going to add some new functionality as well. So the first thing what we need to do is we need to set a player location for both player X and player Y. So we're going to need to do, so X is going to be the left, right, and Y will be the up, down. So what we're going to want to do here is we're going to need to set up some variables for this as well. So we're going to call it player X. And we're going to go over to 96, and player Y is going to be at 97. Now, and we're also going to want to set those to some value. So I'm just going to, let's see, I'm just going to set LDA, I'm going to set it to like 15, okay? And then I'm going to load those, store those into both player X and player Y. Okay. Now, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to offset the map based on player X and player Y. Because if you look at our map, for example, if we're wanting to start in, let's say we said 15, what did we say? We said 15, yep. So if we said 15 by 15, so this is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe we don't want to end up there. Let's put it at, instead, let's go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's put it at 9, 9 instead. Okay. And, but in order to do that, let's say, you know, the player's going to start like here or whatever we said. We're going to want to shift the map down so that it's going to start at somewhere like here. And we're going to need to offset based on, you know, how far we are away from each edge. So that's where we're going to add some more functionality to the offset stuff. So we've got right now, we've got a blitz screen. We've got these guys right here. So we're going to actually create a new function to take care of that for us. So we're going to say proc, we're going to call it map offset. Let's see, we're going to put in, just go ahead and move these over here. And we're going to say, we're going to call proc or map offset at the beginning of the function. And let's just go ahead and put RTS and NP in there just so we don't forget them. It's really easy to forget this RTS because the NP kind of makes it seem like, oh, we're done with the function. But if you don't, it'll just keep going. And that's bit me on more than one occasion. So what we're going to need to do is offset for the player Y. Okay, so we're going to load in player Y. So this is going to go, first we're going to go down and then we'll go over, okay? And we're going to subtract the screen height divided by 2. So what this is going to be, and this is doing some math within the assembler, and that's fine. It's going to be division, you know, integer division. Our screen height's 11, so this is going to be equal to 5. If we want to change something later on, it's good to not use, you know, magic numbers in the code here. So we're going to subtract 5. And so now we're going to say player Y, we said was, I had already forgotten, I think it said 9, okay? So player Y, or Y is actually equal to 4 now. And what we're going to want to do here is we're going to loop, and we're going to ADW map pointer comma let's see, and we're going to add in map width. And we're going to decrement y. And we're going to do BNE loop. Okay. So we actually are probably going to want to move this up here. And the reason why is because the pre-decrement or, after you decrement. And the reason why is because we could end up in an issue where we've done this too many times. I'm going to leave it for now. We may need to tweak that if we're off by one. It happens super easy, at least for me. Okay, so we've shifted shift vertically for player Y. Okay, let's go player's Y position. Okay. Now, the X is much easier. So we're going to do a shift horizontally for player's X position. And let's see. We're going to load in player X into the accumulator. We're going to subtract screen width divided by 2. We're going to store that. I'm going to create a temp variable for this, just because we need it in a different location than X. So we need it in a memory location. Is probably the best way to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and create a temp variable here. It happens, we need this infrequently, but having a place to stick stuff and, it's a 0 page makes everything faster, etc. So I'm going to store that into temp. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add ADW map pointer. Now, one thing to consider here is ADW is doing 16-bit addresses. Now, because we have temp and we can use both the low byte and the high byte here, we could just make sure to when we make the next variable, start the next one at 9A and not at not at 99. That way we can use this as a 16-bit number. That actually makes it a lot easier than dealing with adding an 8-bit to a 16-bit number. There's no macro for that. We could create one, which we may end up doing, but for now, I'm just going to add that there. So we're going to say this is a 16-bit number. We're going to store it. It's just going to be in the low byte. That's okay. But it's going to both add the high byte and the low byte in there. Now, one thing we may want to do is we may want to say, just so we don't get any weirdness, we may want to say temp plus 1 equals 0 as well. So we could say something like load in 0, store in temp plus 1. Okay, and that way we make sure that we're adding only 0, only the low byte. Okay. So all right, so we have moved it over for X and Y. Okay. So before we actually run the loop, we're going to need to put a TAY in there. So it will actually, we subtracted from player Y, but we never actually stored it onto player Y. Or we never actually stored it onto Y. Another thing here is the ADW needs to be before the DEY. So actually I just fixed that too. Oh, one other issue, or another issue I was running into is ADW. I was putting commas there where they shouldn't have been. So let's go ahead and try this out. Okay, that's actually looking pretty decent. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, so for the next piece, we're going to actually get moving again. We have player X and player Y now, and now we can just modify those, and all of our other stuff should work, just fine. Let's create a new function called read joystick. Okay, I'm going to be moving all this stuff around, so let's just, like the game, jump game. And we can actually put blitzscreen now in our game loop. And we're going to use some of this code. That's why I'm not totally removing it yet. But I'm going to create a function, a procedure called read joystick. And we're going to use this same code in here. So let's go ahead and, or similar, I guess. Let's go ahead and uncomment these. But instead of just up, we're going to call them move up, move down, move left, and move right. Don't want that in there. And we're also going to create a label called done. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say jump done. And so now we're going to have something kind of similar to this, but so what we're going to do is we're going to call this move up. So we are going to set the delay still, and we're going to load in player Y, and we are going to subtract from player Y. Sub is a macro instead of SBC, just so that it's just cleaner. And we're going to store it in player Y. Now we're going to run into issues here when we get to the edge of the map. We're going to deal with that afterwards, but for now we're just going to say, you know what, character, you can move up. We're going to do the same thing for move down, but just in the opposite direction. So we're going to say delay 5, load it in, but instead of subtracting, we're going to add. Okay, and then for left, move left, we're going to load in player X and subtract 1, store it back into player X, and we're going to move right, add 1, and then jump to done. And we can actually remove all of this stuff here. And at the end here, we're going to do an RTS and then NP. Pretty straightforward, actually. So we are going to get into an issue where if it's at 0 or if it goes negative, that's going to be a problem. We're going to move off the screen and it's going to be a problem. But don't worry about that right now. We just have to be careful when we go to the edge, or just watch it explode. So let's try this out. See if this gets us any movement. Okay. I do not have any movement. And let's see why. Because I'm not calling read joystick. Let's try read joystick. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We moved off the screen, off the edge, and things got wonky. Okay. Once we get to the edge of any of these screens, it gets really funky. So that's okay. We're not worried about that right now, but we can actually, looks like we can traverse. If we go too far up, it's gonna blank out on us. But yeah, we actually have this working. That's cool. All right. The next thing we need to do here is we need to implement collision detection. That's what's going to save us from getting too close to the edge of the map. So to add collision detection is actually not too bad. So what we're going to do for that is, let's see, we don't need, let's get rid of this code. We don't need this code in here. This is the display list modification stuff. We don't need any of that. We're going to need to set a couple variables though. And that is that we need to know what tile is to the north, the south, the east, and the west, and probably what the character is on. So I'm going to set up 5 variables in here, and we're going to start at 9A, and we're going to say tile up, tile down, and we only need 1 byte here, so we're going to say 9B, tile left, tile right, and I'm going to call it tile on, for lack of a better word. So this is going to be what the character's on. We might as well grab that. It's going to be used for when we do pickups and things like that. So, so we now have these 5 variables set. Now what we need to do is we need to go through and figure out what those are. Okay, and we're going to do that within this split screen. It's going to make it look a little less pretty, but that's okay. So this stuff doesn't change. Okay, so these are the top 3 lines. Let's go ahead and put a couple comments in here. Blank, 2 blank lines, top 3 lines of the circle. Now, keep in mind, this circle is a fixed width. We could get into something where we could have, different widths. I leave that as an exercise to the viewer. But what we care about are these middle 3 lines. So this is going to have where the top, the left, and the right, and the bottom are going to be. So I'm going to just say the top, bottom 3 lines. Okay, so this is going to be the line above the player. And so what we're going to do is our map pointer is set correctly. What we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to peek at, using the map pointer, what we're going to do is we're going to peek at what is above the player. And so we're going to advance the map pointer a certain amount of characters. So if we go back to our image, to get to the middle line, we're going to go 5, right? And then what we need to do is do 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we've advanced to this square right here. Then we add 4 more. So we're going to add 9 to the player, or to the map pointer. Then we're going to load in whatever's in Y. Y shouldn't be changing here, so we should be okay. So we're going to say advance to the tile above player, load in the tile, and then what we're going to do is we're going to store it in up tile. Store the tile. And now what we're going to do is we're going to undo what we just did, because otherwise it's going to screw up all the math that we've already implemented. So I'm going to say SBW. So there's ADW to add word, and then there's SBW to subtract word. So we can say map pointer, and then we say -9. Undo math. So now we can split the circle line, okay? Now we can do the same exact thing for below. So I'm just going to copy this for the one below. So a line below the player. So just change some of the comments. Load in the tile. We're going to store this in down point tile. And there we go. So this one's going to be a little trickier. This is the one to the left. So this is the center line. So we're going to want to grab the left, the middle, and then the right. So let's go ahead and advance. So for that, we know we need to go one less. Map pointer plus to 8. Advance through the tile to the left. There. Okay, put that down there. We're going to load it in, just like we did everything else. Load in the tile. We're going to store it in left tile. And then we're going to, instead of undoing the math here, we're actually just going to advance the pointer. So I'm just going to go map pointer, add 1, move, advance the tile under, or the tile that the player is on. And then we're going to load it in. And we're going to store it as on tile. And then we're going to advance one more time. To the right of the player. And we're going to load it in. Could just probably copy and paste, but that's okay. And we're going to load it in, and we're going to store it as right tile. Now we need to do undo the math. So we're going to say SBW map pointer. So it's 8 plus 1 plus 1. So map pointer undo math. Okay, and now we can display the line. Now, just to make sure we didn't mess something up, let's see what we got here. Undeclared label, up tile, left tile. Okay, it doesn't like those. Why did I not call them correctly? I call them tile up, tile down. Let's just rename these. Down tile, left tile, right tile, on tile, whatever. Naming things is hard. Okay, let's see if this tile symbols. So we shouldn't see anything different. Okay, so that's good. It didn't mess up our math. But now we can use these up, down, left, right tiles in our move procedures so that we can make sure that we don't run into a character, or make sure we don't run into a wall. For now, that's the walls and I guess doors, but let's just worry about walls for right now. We'll get into how we can do multiple tiles for collision detection, but for now, let's just worry about walls. So the way we do this is we're going to load in the up tile, figure out what is above when we move up. We're going to compare this with 1. So 1, if you remember, is our wall tile. And then we're going to say BEQ, that means if it equals, we're just going to jump to done. And that's all we have to do. We can just put each one of these in here, renaming them to be the correct tile. And we can say move left, left tile, and then right tile. Okay, let's try that out. Now, theoretically, I should be able to move. Yep. Okay, so we still are dealing with edge of the map issues, but that's okay. What I want to see is if I can run into this wall. Aha, I am pushing down. Let's see if left works. Edge of the map issues, let's not worry about right now. Right. Okay, I can't go right. That's good. Let's try going left and right in the hallway. Cannot move left and right. I am pushing left and right here. Cool. All right, up and down in here. So that actually works pretty well. Okay, so now we have collision detection working. Awesome. Okay, so one more thing before I leave you. I want to put in a map that may be a little bit better so we don't have to deal with the edge of map issues. The problem is if we're too close to the edge of the map, we're going to get into some issues where it's out of bounds, and we don't want to have that. So I'm going to grab a map, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have grabbed a map, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy it and paste it in here. So this is a very simple map that has 4 rooms in it. You can see the 2s, and it's far away from the edge, so we should not have any edge of map issues. But the one thing to consider here is the fact that it is not 64 by 64. It actually is 49 by 49. So this is actually a good test in our code to make sure that nothing's hard-coded to be 64 by width or anything. So we should be able to just change this to 49 and 49. And we need to set a starting position that's probably not at 9 because I think that's going to be in the wall. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, if we look at this map, we actually have a 4, which is our stairs up. So this is actually probably where we want to be having our player start. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so let's change the starting position to be 16. It is on the diagonal, so everything should be good there. Let's see if this works. Okay, I was off by 1. But that's okay. We can move around and we are good to go. So we can actually move over to here and go to the next room. So doors are not collidable. And there we go. There's the stairs down. And then we came from the stairs up. Now, one thing that's a little odd to me is the fact that it is off by 1. And I believe there's a bug due to that. So let's take a look at that. First of all, let's make 100% sure that it is, what do we say? That it is 16, okay? So we should be starting right on this character. So let's just double check. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We should absolutely be on that square. And we're not. If we start it, it actually starts 1 square below. Now, earlier I had mentioned in our offset map function that there was an issue that I had ran into with decrementing the Y. And that has to do with the fact that we're wanting to do it a certain amount of times. And I've run into this before where you're doing a subtraction. You actually do 1 too many times when you do this kind of looping. So than what you would expect. So what I'm actually just going to do is I'm going to put an SBC. Let's just add sub 1. And then it'll copy it to the A. Let's try that out. Okay. We are now showing up on the correct location. We don't have any issues with collision detection. We don't have any issues with the edge of map, which is the key. So yeah. So this is, we did a lot of stuff today, but it's actually looking pretty good. I really like the new style of the, only showing a certain bit instead of everything. In a future video, we're going to make it so that you can only see, what the player can see. So like right now, you can see through that wall. We don't want to have that. It should be blocked off. Line of sight is kind of important in a game like this. So we'll eventually get to that, but not in this episode. This was a lot to cover. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. But if you've been this far, I really appreciate it. That being said, I haven't said this in a while, but see you in the next adventure. Take care.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. I post new videos all the time and I wouldn't want you to miss any. If you'd like to see more of this series, be sure to click up here. And if you'd like to see something else, be sure to click up here.